The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Triversity Talk. I am Stephen Bloomer-Teague.
And I am Wendy Stewart-Kaplan, and thank you for joining us on this pouring rain Thursday night. Not you, Stephen, where you are.
It's quite breathtaking. And it's a little humid today. It was almost 80 today here in Provincetown, but I mean, still just absolutely spectacular.
Gorgeous. You know what I say? Suck as much as you can out of summer.
Absolutely. Yeah. It seems like, knock on wood, it seems like we're going to get summer most every day we're out here, 70s. Yeah. So I'm loving it. Yeah. I was looking in Milford. It's like the temperature at night is dropping into the 40s. Yeah.
We are starting to plummet in Milford. And last weekend, you could actually feel like, that little pre-fall thing. Not that anything's changing color or anything like that, but, I always say it's like, fall is in the air. It's right around the corner. Ugh. Oh. This is followed by winter. I don't want to deal with it.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of fall, October 8th, we are going to have our first Friday with Dan Ingvelson. A lot of you know him. He entertains.
That's the thing. I love fall.
Entertains for Triversity. And one of the cool things about him is not only is he's great to look at, he's wonderful to listen to, and he just loves Triversity. We will be at the Water Wheel. So if you read our newsletter, we ask that you reserve a table if you're going to have dinner. And we also need to know if you're coming because we do have a limitation on the amount of people that we can have because of the COVID situation. So that's the story.
Yeah. And then on October 9th, Morristown is hosting a coming out day. The Morristown, I'm not sure if it's the police department or if it's Goal or who's throwing it, but coming out day celebration, and that could be a wonderful thing to go to if you're looking to take a little bit of a road trip or if you're up that way. It'd be a great time.
It totally sounds great. I am actually going to try and make it. I'll just see. But we got so much going on lately, Mike. It's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Our Halloween party is right around the corner, Stephen.
Yes, we're about to go live with the invite to the Halloween party, but we'll go ahead and tell you that Catskills Pride and Triversity are hosting the Masquerade Ball for All. That'll take place on October 30th. Then just get ready because more info will be coming your way very, very soon.
I'm loving the name of it, Ball for All. That's great. It's catchy. It kind of rolls off of your lips. Speaking of catchy, tonight's guest is what I call the quintessential working actor. This person has done Broadway, off-Broadway, regional theater, summer stock, you name it, he's done it. National tours, some of the biggest shows that you've ever heard of. Annie, Cats. Oh, I love Cats. Midnight. I'm going to make him sing a few rounds of Cats for me. And that's so cliche. But without further ado, let's welcome Michael Iannucci.
Hey there. I am not singing memory for you. It's not going to happen. You can sing it, and I will be very happy to listen to it.
Michael, you were, I don't know, which cat did you play in that show anyway?
I played the opera cat.
Oh,
Bustopher Jones, the old Gus the theater cat who turns into the opera cat. And then in the first act, I played this cat, Bustopher Jones. And yeah, I did it with, I don't know if you guys know Ken Page and Linda Balgord.
Okay.
I did it down in Houston
Oh
with
my
the two of
God.
them, and they were Ken played Deuteronomy originally, and he was spectacular, and as was Linda Balgord. She played Grisabella. Oh my God, she was, and she had done it on Broadway, and she was amazing. Yeah.
I was just so impressed, reading your resume, all the different shows that you have done. You meet so many people that say they want to be an actor and they take lessons, or maybe they major in it in university, as you did. But the amount of theater that you have done is just, it's so impressive and so incredible to me.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's, like every, well, not every, but like a lot of actors, you have your ups and you have your downs. Right. And a couple of times I even, I left the business for a while. I did. I left a couple of times. I did some stuff that I thought was going to be really, really, I don't know, make a difference or be a really great experience. And it turned out to be not a great experience and like really a bad experience. And then I said, you know what, this was supposed to be on paper a really artistic, or should have been an artistically fruitful experience, and it was not.
Opportunity, as we say.
Yeah. So I went and did. I worked for a sports film company for a while, and then, came back. I did. There was a theater in New York called the Equity Library Theater. I don't know if you remember that. Yes. It was a great, and I was laid off from the sports film company, and I went to an audition for this 103rd and Riverside Drive, the theater is, and they had been around for years and years, and that turned out to be the best experience I had ever had up until then. I mean, this was like a long time ago. And what
made it so good for you? What made it the best experience?
We had God rest his soul, we had a really fantastically creative director by the name of Stephen Holtz. We had a really beautiful group of people. It's very talented, but also socially, we just all got along, and it was a 1920s melodrama, but then they added all this music to it, and we were sort of creating it as we went along, and it was just rewarding, and it renewed my faith to say, oh yeah, this is why I do what I do. This is why I do it. So yeah.
I think you brought out a really important point, though. People, when they see, when you tell them you're an actor, they immediately think of what you see on TV. The people that we know, the name stars, right, in the series and stuff like that. What turns me on about you is this history that you have of all these shows you've been in, and also you're very honest to say it has its ups and downs.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's something people really need to realize. The amount of actors that I know that are working actors, but that still have some kind of a daytime gig, or a gig they can count on.
Yeah.
You have to have that. So I don't know that the universities, when you major in theater, these conservatories, I don't know that they really prepare people for the
I got to tell you, the school that I went to, it was, to be perfectly honest, the wrong school for me to go to.
Oh no!
It's a very good school.
Well, you were Temple University as an undergrad.
University, and it's a great school. But it was it was in Philadelphia. I'm from Philadelphia, so I commuted to school, and it was affordable. And
it's a good school. Great.
Yes,
school.
It's a very good school. But it wasn't until my senior year that I had an acting teacher who was also a director by the name of Dougal MacArthur. And for some reason, he looked out for me. And my senior year, he gave me this like at Temple University used to, I don't know what they do anymore. They had a 3-year grad program. And in the third year, I was an undergrad, but the third year they sent their actors down to a professional theater that was sponsored by Temple University. They had a professional theater in Midtown Philadelphia, in downtown Philadelphia. And sometimes they would cast an equity actor from New York. They would, if there was a part that they couldn't really cast out of the grad program. And there was a play called The Ceremony of Innocence. And there was a part in it, I didn't know the play. And this acting teacher, I had auditioned for him, and he said, you know, there's a part in here that all the grad students want, but I'm gonna give it to you, but we're gonna work really, really hard. And we worked really, really hard, and it was really kind of at Temple, my sort of coming out party.
I love it.
Not as a gay man, but as an actor. I had done a little bit of things in the black box or really small parts in the main stage productions, but this was a real, and it was great because the grad students who were a little apprehensive of me getting the part all turned out to be extremely supportive.
That's okay. That's
oh my God, they were amazing. They were they really were also very understanding of Dugald giving me a lot of time. That he gave me, like in rehearsal, he would actually sit near me as we were doing a scene, and he would just say, relax, just relax. And he would sort of coach me on, and they were like a dream. The other grad student actors were a dream, and they really sort of allowed me to flourish, which was great. I mean,
what a positive experience. I mean, how old were you? Like 19, 20?
Yeah, I was like 20. I was 20 years old.
That is like, I love stories like that, because we all too often hear, the other kind of stories, the jealousy, the backbiting, and here, the grad students actually got behind little Michael.
No, and I have the backstabbing stories too. But no, yes, that's the one Stephen wants to hear. Yes, I have
to hear about, right, Stephen?
Yeah, I have but no, they were really, and it doesn't happen as much as it should. The rehearsal room should be a place where you explore, where you feel safe, where you are allowed to try things, and where there should be, it's hard to do, but there should be no judgment, because you're trying to find your way. And it means trying some stuff. It means, and sometimes you'll get it. Sometimes you'll get a director who is permissive and allows you that room. And other times, like when you do the revivals of stuff, you gotta sort of honor what, move your hand here and move your finger there, and that tends to be, it's a paycheck and it's great, but it's not tremendously rewarding. It's sometimes the other things that you do that are where you get to actually explore, where you actually get the permission to say, well, I'm going to make this my own. It's not, nobody else is going to put a stamp on it. I'm going to put my own stamp on it. So, yeah.
Now, it seems like a lot of revivals now are trying to move past like the carefully staged. It's like really different, they're trying to make it fresh and interesting. I mean, did you ever deal with any revivals like that or perform in any revivals like that?
No, all the revivals of stuff that I did were by the book. I mean, I didn't see the latest West Side Story. A lot of people had problems with it. I didn't see it, so I don't know. And I've done so many fiddlers. I've done like over 1,200 performances of Fiddler.
Stop! Wait, no, this is so funny because of who your partner is. First of all, we'll get to that.
I know.
It is like the universe speaking to you. Who did you play in Fiddler?
Well, I played down at the old Burt Reynolds Theater down in
Florida.
Florida.
Yeah,
I played Perchik. Then I played the Rabbi's Son, and I understudied Perchik and Muddle. Then I played Muddle, and I played Muddle for like 600 or 700 performances. I played the Rabbi's Son and understudy for like 600 or 700 performances. I mean, I was on tour with Fiddler, 2 different tours of it for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So
the one song we might commit you to sing is Wonder of Wonder.
Got it, Michael.
if you're nice, perhaps.
Okay, I'll be nice.
If you're nice, but you both are nice. So
I competed that in voice one year, so that's my
So the ones that I did were by the book. There's a book called The Bible, meaning in when you do a revival, you get the original choreography, original stage pictures of where everybody was, and that's what a lot of directors go by, because you have to sort of get permission if you want to go in a different direction. But the ones that I did, I toured in Annie. I did a lot of Annies as well, and that was by the book. This is what you raise your arm on. This is what you do, and
Mike, what's your technique to keep it fresh? Like the amount of performances that you did with 2 companies of Fiddler, and I'm in equity, but I've only ever done off Broadway and these short, shows. I always admired actors like yourself. No, I don't think I could sustain that. How do you keep it fresh?
I think that first of all, on tour, the one thing, you're in a new theater all the time. Like we would, you're playing the Sanger Theater in New Orleans, and then you're playing the Orpheum Theater in San Francisco. And also during the day, I would be climbing, I would go hike in Banff National Park in Calgary.
Right.
And so I was stimulated by where I was. And that was the thing about touring that was so amazing, is that I saw everything.
Wow.
I went to see I went to Yosemite and White Sands National Park, and wherever we went, I would find the museum, I would find the restaurant. So you were always stimulated by maybe not the show all the time, but by your surroundings or by the theater. You would walk into a theater that, you would walk into the Fox Theater. We played a lot of the Fox theaters, which were the movie palaces, in Atlanta, in St. Louis, and they were spectacular. So you couldn't help but walk in the stage door and say, wow, and then also you're dealing with a different dressing room. Every theater you're at. There was one time I remember we were in Indianapolis, and one performance, I came down after the tradition number. I'm in the next scene, Muddle, and I came down to my dressing room, and I was like, this isn't right. Why? I don't belong here. I missed my entrance.
Oh my God.
And we were like, the stage was way far away, and I ran up. Well, they had passed, thank God, 2 actresses on stage, kept the ball in the air. But, when I ran to stage management, I said, I'm so sorry. They're like, it's cool. But yeah, so there was always different stimulus, because we were in different places all the time.
It's interesting. You've mentioned the places, you've mentioned the things you did during the day, but you didn't mention being stimulated by all the different people that you worked with.
Yeah, on tour,
different personalities.
Yeah, because you're seeing them every single day, and you're traveling with them. And listen, you're on the road, and you're going through breakups, and you're going through affairs, and you're going through, family, the loss of a family member, or a celebration of an engagement, or, So there was always, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's like anything else. I mean, if you are working, especially if you're doing musicals, if I have a busy year, I will have met like 200 new people.
Incredible.
Well, you can't keep 200 people. Now, Facebook has provided you with an opportunity.
To keep
social media. Yeah, I mean,
please, but now you realize how little you like them as soon as they start posting stuff. I mean,
yeah, well, there you go. But no, I mean, I was fortunate. Most of the time, there were some really. I met some of my that I still remain dearest friends with. I was from Broadway.
Relationships.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So.
Now, while you've been a performer all this time, have you had people that you've worked with that you found challenging?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not going to mention names, but I mean, yeah, there were some challenging people.
How do you get ahead? So how do you, and this is interesting, right? As an actor, you have to be able to morph. You're like an amoeba that you have to be able to shape and morph and everything. So how do you keep you personally, that animosity that you might feel towards somebody that you're with night after night, and you might have very poignant scene with? What do you tell yourself?
God, yeah, that I've run into situations where, you know what, if you get into the heart of the play, like, there's a couple times I've done some plays where, the chemistry just wasn't there. But then when you get into the heart of the play and what and the story of the play, then I'm like, you just follow the path of the play, and that takes care of it for you. If you're honoring the play, then the other stuff goes away. It just means we're not going out for a drink or dinner afterwards, right, and you're not on my Christmas card list. But when you're actually doing the play, and if the play is a compelling one, or a play that, a part that you really like playing, then you really do. I mean, professionally, you have to then look in the eyes of somebody and say, I have a story to tell, and we need to leave that stuff.
Right.
We just need to leave that stuff outside, right. And so, yeah, that's how you approach it. I mean, it's your job. You can't let that get in the way of, so yeah.
It's your job. As a performer, you have to override a lot of the time your personal feelings. How do you take that question that I just asked and apply it to the audition, where you walk in and 5 of them are staring at you, and from the time you walked in the door, they didn't like you based on nothing, and you sing your heart out, you do an incredible job, but they didn't like you.
That is hard. And now a lot of times where you have to remember, because of the computer, they're taking notes on a computer they're seeing all these people, and sometimes they are taking notes on you.
Right.
So you can't take it personally. The thing that I've learned, and it's taken me a really long time to learn, is that they may sometimes act like this, but they're not the enemy behind the table. They are looking to find somebody to cast their show.
Right.
And a lot of times, I have to take ownership of this. A lot of times I did not go in. I always went in prepared, but I didn't go in making big enough choices to show them what I'm going to bring to the table in the audition room. I mean, I didn't bring that in the audition room, which means part of what they need to find out is, well, what are you going to bring to the table? What is your demeanor going to be in a rehearsal room? I did a show out at Montclair State University that we then brought into New York called Schlemiel the First. And they brought it into New York. It was a very successful in Montclair, not quite as successful in New York. They wanted it to be something else in New York. But anyway, they were really bringing it in for this actress who I played the title role, but there was an actress in it who had been attached to it. Her name is Alice Playton, and she'd been around for a long time. I absolutely adored her, but she passed away after they had made the decision to bring it into New York. So they asked me to come in to auditions, to watch, because she was playing my wife, and which was very nice of them. They said, come in, so you can read with them. I got to tell you guys, it was the most extraordinary learning experience to watch how people came into the room and shot themselves in, either were brilliant or shot themselves in the foot,
right,
by their demeanor, by their determination to stick to their guns and not, at that particular audition, they were giving everybody 15 minutes to really have some time with them. It wasn't a 3-minute or 4-minute.
That's a lot. 15 is really good.
15 is a lot. They were just seeing for the one part. And there were people that came into that room that were so not pliable, so not available to listen to the director of who I adored. David Gordon, his name is. And I just sat there and watched, and I just thought, Jesus, man, you are really shooting yourself in the foot by just, they would speak kindly to them. And this one actress came in, and the director started wanting to direct her and give her some stuff for the scene. And she said, oh, no. We'll deal with that in rehearsal. You don't have to tell me that now. No. And at the end of the day, they looked at me, the creative team looked at me, and they said, was there anybody that you felt a connection to? And I said, well, there was one person I did not feel a connection to. And they said, oh, no, don't worry about it. There's no way we're going to use her. She just, that's what she said. I mean, and, so you shoot yourself in the foot sometimes.
Got to admire that confidence, right? I mean,
you got to, but if you have a good director saying, hey, why don't we try, and for her to say no, that means in rehearsal, she's going to say no. An audition is a job interview.
That's a nightmare of a person for a director to have to work with, and the rest of the cast.
That's right. First impressions are last.
And the human race. I mean, because that's going to be someone who is difficult in every avenue of life.
There you go. So, no, I just said, well, there's that one girl. They're like, no, don't worry. That's not happening. So she's not in the running for this. Right. So, yeah, I mean, but it was such a valuable learning experience. Yeah, it really was. It was to how to behave in a room. And over the years I've learned, and I've learned that now, the older I've gotten, that it is my, so many times I would leave an audition or even a performance experience where I didn't come to the plate bringing any game, not just even my A game, where I didn't really bring it because I was timid, or I was shy, or I was intimidated. And the bottom line is and I've worked with some really terrific people that want you to come into the room with ideas. They want you to, to see where they can help edit you and say, that's great. No, let's work with this. So many times I would come into a rehearsal period. And of course you start out, I always start out a little like, you're apprehensive. You're working with a whole new bunch of people.
Of course, yeah.
That you're going to see in their underwear in 3 weeks. But the first, you're in rehearsal and you're just like, I don't know these people. But, like I said before, the rehearsal process should be always a safe environment to
try things.
Yeah. Where you're being hired. That's what you're being hired to do, to come up with stuff, to give them something for them to work with. So, yeah.
So we've talked about being in the room. We've used that expression a lot. We're not in the room anymore. And this is what I'm struggling with. We're on these flat screens, right? Like tonight, all three of us, the only dimension you get is our faces.
Yeah.
We can't feel the room. I can feel you through the screen to the best of my ability, but it's real different than walking into the room and feeling the vibe and being in that moment. And auditions have now, for at least for me, have moved on to this thing on the computer. And it's hard. I got a lot of experience last year doing Zoom shows. Mm-hmm. I never did those kinds of things before. It was very good for me because I was always like you. I went up and I, did my thing. I did my preparation. The people were there, but this is a whole different thing. How are you dealing with it?
Well, I have to be honest with you. I kind of I've not had any theater auditions. But I have had television auditions. And I have to be honest, I like it better because I don't have to travel down to some casting director's office. A lot of the parts that I read for are not Sophie's choice. They are, 4 lines here, a 5-day player here. And you're in and you're out of the room before you even know that you did anything. And sometimes you're waiting for your 4 or 5 lines, an hour, an hour and a half. And this way, God bless my husband. My husband plays. Now, I have done a couple of theater auditions, via Zoom. Most of it's been TV. And I can do a number of takes and send the right take off and get used to, as opposed to you might get to do it twice in the room in the casting director's office. Sometimes they want you to look at the camera. Sometimes they don't want you to look at the camera. Sometimes they want you to slate. Sometimes they don't want you to slate. So you're always finding out something new. Now it's a thing of, when my agent sends me, the breakdown of the part, it says, we need a full body shot, slate, tell your agency, tell your height. So already what you're doing. And so I kind of like that better. Now for theater, I think it's a different ball of yarns. I've had a couple of auditions, before the pandemic, where they still, when they didn't know the pandemic was going to last as long as it was, they were like, oh, well, we're closed. The audition studios are closed, but we're doing this production. This was last summer. We're doing this production. So I did it on tape, and it was okay, but it's not quite the same thing to go in and sing with an accompanist but for the TV stuff, I'm actually cool with it. I can sit in my kitchen in Milford, when we're in Milford and Frank reads whatever part he's reading, I had an audition for The Sound of Music and Frank was the Baroness.
Oh, I love it.
He was the Baroness.
I would like to videotape that.
Yes, he was a very good Baroness.
Have you ever heard of a little thing called boarding school?
It was great. You're hired. You are hired.
Yes.
In the
so
spot.
he was the Baroness, and he did a very but the theater thing is different. But for the TV thing, I'm like I'm cool with sitting at home. Yeah. Because there were times where, before the pandemic again, that we would get up to Milford, drop our bags, and my agent would say, tomorrow, you have an audition for whatever, some TV thing or something. And I'd be like, damn, I got to drive all the way. Luckily, Milford in New York, an hour 45 and you're fine.
1 hour, 45 minutes.
Yep. It's an hour 45. And, but yeah, so I'm actually okay with the TV thing being on Zoom. I'm or whatever. That's not Zoom, but iMovie or whatever, however you send it off. But yeah. So
however you have to upload it, as we say. So when you were growing up, was any of this theatrical stuff showing at a young age?
yeah. I I started in elementary school in sixth or seventh grade.
Oh, okay.
I was plucked out of a classroom to do a one-act play festival.
Ah.
And then when I got to high school, they called me down because they had seen me in the one act play festival at this high school where we did the one act play festival. And then they said, "Do you want to be in the theater department?" And I was like, okay. And then that was sort of my 4 years in high school was really devoted to the theater department. And I'm still friends.
I love it.
With a number of them. I mean, and we've come back into each other's life because of Facebook, and now they have come to see me perform. They come and see me, and it's so fantastic to reconnect with these people who were part of my history.
Of course.
You know, we started out together, and again, because a lot of them, all very successful, went into other areas. It was an avocation for them, but they loved it. And I went on to do it. And I have some really lovely friends who've become very close way years afterwards when we had lost touch. They had children and they had this and they had that. And now they're back into my life, and it's
right. Isn't that cool? What I find interesting, we talk to a lot of entertainers on this show, certainly, and many late bloomers. You were not a late bloomer. This was like you were being plucked for things back in elementary school, which meant the talent and the ability was there. Now, you weren't like a kid actor that was going out on auditions.
No, but I have to tell you, we sort of mentioned it before. I'm a late bloomer in terms of finding my voice as a performer. I had an interview with another gal by the name of a darling gal by the name of Moira O'Sullivan, and we talked about it. I used to, when I was really not fully out of the closet. Now, I was fully out of the closet in the theater, because it's a very accepting, for the most part,
How old were you when you came out of the closet?
I came out to my family way late, like literally in my 40s. I came out to my family. Mm-hmm. It took me a very long time. But I realized that, especially after I met Frank, I came out to my family before I met Frank, but there was no way that I was going to hide Frank or anybody else. But, Frank is a spectacular person, and there was no way that I was going to hide him in a closet somewhere. But for years and years and years, I did. I used to go home and I would hide part of who I was. And I have to tell you, that really does, it affects the way you live your life, and it affects the way you do your job. Right. It affects your art. It affects and I used to, I had told Moira, I used to lose my voice all the time. And after I came out, I stopped losing my voice. Now, if there's the end of an 8-performance week and I'm doing a big vocal show, it gets a little tired, or if you get sick. But I would lose it because I was so closed up. I was so
it was in here, okay? Yeah. Not out to your family. And again, no fault here. Your last name, you're Italian.
Yep.
Which means you were raised Catholic, okay? And mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff connected to that to begin with.
Well, I mean, that's the great thing. I mean, that's really, you guys at Triversity there's a dialogue. There is a community that we didn't, when I was growing up, didn't have. And now you got, and also the conversation that we all have, that the conversation is there that, hey, I'm really no different than you are. I have the same foibles, the same passions, same heartbreaks, the same same love of the Green Bay Packers, which I do. The same.
I have no love of the Green Bay Packers. I hate sports. Don't even go there.
No, but I do. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and but organizations like Triversity provides a place, a safe place for people that are maybe trying to find their way. We didn't have that. Where I found my way was in the theater. Because I was around people that, and also living in New York City. I remember there was a teleplay. I forget what it was called. It was with Seda Thompson and Richard Thomas, and it was I think Somebody's Son. It was called. I forget what it was called, but there's a scene in it. I'm not knocking New York, but where his partner, Seda Thompson's son, dies. And he said, I hate New York City. But it was something to the effect of, but I came here because I'm not accepted anyplace else. He was like a small town boy.
Of course.
But in order to really be who he was, he had to move to a place that maybe he didn't like because they were much more accepting of, New York is a very sort of accepting, and I have more diversity on the sleeve of my 31st floor, not even the whole floor.
Oh my God, yeah, of course.
I have more diversity than people have in a whole city block, in a whole, I have a Latino family. I have an Asian family. I have a Hasidic, not Hasidim, a kosher Jewish family. I have elderly. Isn't
that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful?
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It is, because it's a shame that more places don't have that, because when you're faced with it every day, that's the joy of New York. When you, or any place that is open and available, you face people that are not like you all the time. And, I'll smell every month. I will smell across the hall. She's making kimchi. And you can smell. And then next door,
potato pancakes 2 doors down.
Yes. And across next door, you will smell the roast pork that they're making. And
very New York experience.
Yes, it really. And so these are people that you see every day when I'm going to do my laundry or a high or whatever. And it gets rid of preconceived notions, because you walk along the street and you're seeing every different kind of a person.
Right.
And in the theater, you are. I'm not saying that everybody is as open to everything, but you're in the minority if you are not accepting of certain kinds of people, or respectful of different choices. Completely. And life choices, or not choices. I mean, I am who I am because that's how I was born. So I didn't make the choice to be who I am. It is who I am. But in the theater, luckily, you're way in the minority if you're not open to that diversity.
Well, but you almost think about what you do, and with all the touring someone like you does, and all of the TV, film, commercials, whatever, you really have to be. I mean, because you can't bring anything to the table if you're completely shut off and unaccepting. It's going to affect your work. All right.
Yes,
it will affect your work as a creative person. I mean, certainly New York is very creatively stimulating because of all the reasons that you said. But you come to a place like Milford, there's tons of creative people, and they're not even from New York. Some of them, they're just there as well. And what I find is so great about an organization like Triversity, we're a center, we're there. Our door is open. We have a trans flag, we have a rainbow flag.
Yep.
Come in, ask questions. Stephen's done an incredible job, along with Richard, of fixing up the center. They, tidied it up. They built our library. And I'm not there during the week, but Stephen does the open hours there. What a wonderful thing to bring to a small town.
Yeah, Stephen, really. I mean,
Toss my hair if it moved.
No, my hat is off to you for taking it on and
Right.
for being kind of the face. Well, both of you are, but kind of the face of it, because you're there during the week and somebody can come in. And I mean, I don't know, maybe you have encountered people that come into the center to have a conversation, and it might be the only place that they're allowed to be themselves, because
it's a safe space.
it's a safe space. And that's a fantastic thing. That's really, so kudos to you guys for creating that. And listen, the three of us are also, single life is fabulous too. But when you're mated with somebody who is the safety net, who keeps you buoyant,
Same.
and especially during this very trying year, where you're not seeing, my life sort of halted 16 months ago.
Oh, but I could high five you on that.
Yeah. I mean,
everything. And I'm still, it's not necessarily bad, but I have an edge that developed from having to do that, because I felt, especially everyone I knew in the entertainment world, was completely kicked to the curb. There was a group on Facebook. This will make you laugh, Stephen. It was, I'm a performer, and now all I'm left is with a great big void. And that was it exactly. And it was, not only were people on there all bitching, but things that were helpful, how to apply for unemployment, because you had no money coming in. My biggest client turned around and they were like, "We'll see you in September and see you in January." Really?
Yeah.
That's not cool. And people, my friends that had, regular jobs that were not part of the creative world, their lives went on. They could work from home and still make their salary. I had to completely scramble a whole new life. And you know what? At this stage of the game, I liked my old life.
I know. Well, listen, it really was. This past year has been a mourning period.
Right.
Aside from the fact of, I lost some people to COVID,
Right.
and so you're mourning friendships, but you're also, I mourned, and I mourned the life that I had. It was so funny. I was doing a play, this play called An Act of God at this theater that I've worked at a number of times called the Fulton Theater. And I was supposed to go back there that closed on March 8th. And March the 23rd, I was supposed to go back to do a production of Titanic. That was then going to move.
Yes. I'm sorry to laugh, but that's kind of funny because that's exactly what happened.
Exactly.
Titanic.
And the company manager said to me, "Well, do you want to just keep your luggage here?" And I said, "Oh, no, I'll take it home and I'll repack for the spring." Well, luckily I took everything home because they closed down. It closed down. I mean, I'm not saying that I couldn't have gone back and gotten it, but it came as a shock. And I had like 5 or 6 months work in 2020 of stuff that I really wanted to do.
Of course.
And then, it all went, and you're trying to find your bearings and who, and it was a sort of a valuable lesson. Well, who am I?
Yeah.
Without my work. It was rough. I'm still trying to find my way. I did a play reading there's a new theater company in the Hudson Valley called the Round the Bend Theater Company, and they're there to support actors, playwrights from that area. But a friend of mine, Sydney Ranga, asked me to come and do a reading of a new play. So I did that like 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was a beautiful new play.
It felt good. Too,
it felt so
good.
It was outdoors. It was, we had one Zoom rehearsal. We did it. But I was like, I am not going to leave any stone unturned while I'm reading this beautiful play, because I don't know when I'm going to be doing it again. And, so it is, but, when you look at there's always the negative to look at, but then, I thought about something today, in terms of, regaining the power that taking power back. And for a long time, I would use the words, well, I can't see you if you're not vaccinated. I can't, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm turning it around to, it's like, no, I'm choosing. If you're, and listen, if I disagree with it, but if people have decided that they don't want to be there's nothing you can do. I have family members that are not getting vaccinated. And instead of saying anymore, I can't see you, I'm choosing not to see you.
Of course.
I'm choosing not to see you. I can do anything I want. So it's not about a can't.
No, it's about a choice.
It's now us making choices to say, well, what is right for me? That's right for you. This is right for me. Right. And what's right for me is, Frank and I have been so diligent, and so the bottom line is, now it's not about can't. Now it's about, no, this is our choice. Our choice is, if that's your decision, this is our decision. And hopefully one day this will all go away and we will get back to back to our lives. But, when we come back to our lives, God knows we're going to come back to it with a greater appreciation of what we once had that all went away, but there you go.
Yes, Stephen, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to just say, I was going to do a little subject shift, if that's okay, because we've been saying this name over and over again, but we haven't really dove in. So who is this Frank guy? Tell us more about Frank.
Well, Frank guy is Frank Tamburello, Rabbi Frank Tamburello.
Rabbi. Mm-hmm.
And he is, we came into each other's lives. We met cute. I was filling in for somebody as a receptionist. One of my dearest friends, Sheldon Silver, he was a receptionist at a PR firm, and he said, I need somebody to fill in for me. Well, the windup is, Sheldon fell ill for a while, and they needed somebody they wanted me to stay for a while. So I was like, oh God, I really hate this. But I said, okay, I'll stay for a while. And I used to go to this store on 19th and Broadway every lunch hour called Fish's Eddy.
I love that place. I have dishes from there.
We do too. And Frank happened to be there. And I was they used to have a 99-cent.
Yeah, in the back.
Yes. And of course, that's where I was. And Frank was there with a friend, but I thought he was there with a boyfriend. And when I walked out, when we struck up a conversation, at that point, I had suffered a very bad breakup, and I was like, no more, I'm done. But I walked out of the store, and Frank was waiting for me. And we exchanged numbers, and an hour later, he called me. Wow. So I knew that he wasn't a game player. He was sincere. And it took me a while to get I was used to a lot more drama in relationships. And then he's a very stoic.
Yeah.
He's Italian. He's from, Mott Street or Mulberry Street, whatever the street it is. So he's got but he he's a very good counterbalance to me being off the wall most of the time.
You think? You think?
You know what I mean? I mean,
How long have the two of you been together for?
we've been married for 4 years, and we've been together for November will be 12 years. Will be 12 years. Yeah. And yeah, we had the chapel is now closed, but he has 2 congregations as a rabbi, one in White Plains and one on 39th and Park. And we got married and we, when we decided to get married, we kept talking about, do you want to go to Ireland? Do you want to go to San Francisco? Do you want to go to Chicago? Chicago's my favorite city ever. And then we decided, we looked at a video tape of the down at City Hall, and I was like, I knew, because the person that was doing it was, God bless him, but it was horrible. And I said, no. So we did it at his chapel on 39th and Park Avenue.
Perfect.
And it was literally, it was a 2-week, we planned it in 2 weeks. It was on a Tuesday afternoon. I had some Broadway singers sing. I had a dear friend of mine, Susie Levengood. She signed one of the songs that my friend Amy Jo Phillips sang. We had friends read some stuff. It was so funny. Before the ceremony, I was upstairs waiting to come down to the chapel, and I was like, Frank, I thought I was going to feel more. I thought it was going to be more emotional. And we come down, and his best man was his cousin Joanne, and my best man was an old friend of mine, Billy. And they walked down the aisle, and then we walked down the aisle, and we were going to do a welcoming to the guest. And as soon as I turned around and looked at all of those people there for our wedding, I cried.
Of course.
It was like Ally McGraw in Love Story. I bawled my eye. I could barely get the words out thanking them for coming. And because I never thought it was going to be
ever.
No. And this new generation of gay people have a different reality, which is
the way we talk about this all the time. You paved the way.
The people that came before us.
Yeah.
Really. Stephen, have you read this book called Gay Like Me?
I have not.
It's in our library.
It's a beautiful book. I lent it to a friend of mine. Okay. It is, I think he was a producer. He and his partner adopted a son who is gay. And all the chapters are letters to the son saying, this is the battle that we fought. This is how where you are now, where you can be free and easy on campus for the most part. This is what we had to do to make him appreciate his history the way we appreciate anybody's history. And it's a really beautiful, very sweet book. Look it up. You can buy it on Amazon. It's called Gay Like Me. And it's this little book, and it's all letters to his son. And also as a parent, letting his son go and saying, okay, I'm gonna trust you out there. We suffered through the AIDS crisis. Please be careful. So to marriage was not in my vernacular. And so when I turned around and said that I was able to pronounce in front of people that I love, that also knew Frank and I as a couple, it was extraordinary. It was an extraudinary day.
Michael, how did your family deal with this?
Well, not great.
Even at this stage of the game.
Well, we were estranged after the wedding for like a year and a half because nobody came. and they all live in Philadelphia. Now, it was fast. We decided it in 2 weeks. We did it for a reason. There was an emergency with us, and that was all turned out all right. It was a health thing with Frank, but it was all fine. But I said, Frank, we got to stop this. If we're not going to go to San Francisco or Ireland, let's do this. And we planned it in 2 weeks. So I realized that it was a rush thing, but nobody came. And it was very upsetting to me because people were saying, is any of your family here? And I was like, no, they couldn't make it. And to be perfectly honest, what it did was the estrangement in a strange way brought us closer, because I finally stood up and said, this is not acceptable.
Right.
I've been
It's
to
not
all the christenings,
okay.
the weddings, the baby shower. I've been to all of that, and
this is not okay.
Nobody showed up for me.
Well,
And it made me say, you want to be a part of my life? Well, this is where my life is morphing, and it's morphing with a spectacular human being
that you met randomly, really.
And
yeah, so it turned out to be a blessing to find my voice, to say my marriage is as important as anybody else's marriage. And I know you would have dropped other things to go to somebody else's, but mine didn't seem as important to you. And ergo, it forced me to say, this is my line in the sand, and I'm not changing the line. You either come up to the plate and meet me, and I was very serious about not ever being in touch with them anymore, because the 40 people, we had 40 people at our wedding that I looked out on, were people that were joyous for us.
Of course.
And they're your family.
Yes, they're
become
your chosen family. That you actually, they choose you and you choose them, and they were there. And this one guy, a friend of mine who I toured in Fiddler with for 2 years, an extraordinary man by the name of Brad Drummer. I told Brad, I said, Brad, I was in his wedding party, and we shared a dressing room and Fiddler a lot, and blah, 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 blah. And I said, Brad, you got 4 kids, you have a business in DC. You're not going to you can't come to the wedding. I get it. So I'm just telling you, I'm getting married. Well, we were upstairs after, after the ceremony, we went upstairs for cake and champagne, and I looked up and there was Brad. And I said,
oh, beautiful.
What are you doing? How did you get here? He took a bus from DC at 5 a.m. or whatever it was. And he said to me, I wouldn't have missed this for the world. And he started cutting cake and giving cake to people. And then he went back and it was you can't buy that.
No, you can't.
No, he holds a very special place in my heart.
Oh, yes.
Because, and I said to him, he's a spectacular singer. And I said, you would have sung today. Why didn't you tell me? He said, he said, I wasn't sure. And I was like, but I looked up and I said, oh my God. He came 5 hours on a bus.
Yeah.
And 5 hours back. And that's what he did.
Right.
And gave me a gift on top of it. And I was like, I didn't want to, but that's who he is. And luckily I can claim him as a friend.
Sure.
And me, because he's a spectacular human being. So, but so now we're back on, my family and I are back on track. Yeah, we're back on track with a new understanding of who I am. I'm a married man. I have in-laws. I have family. And, there's the aches and pains of getting older, but there's also finding when you find your voice, it's such a great thing.
Oh my God.
To find your voice and say, at this point, if you don't like me, that's okay.
Right.
And that's even within the business. It's like when I go in and I really make choices and big choices to show them, it's like I'm showing you what I can bring to the table. If you don't want it, that's okay.
Right.
We're not meant for each other. And so I think that applies into so many different areas. It really does.
But it takes a lot of guts to say, this is who I am. You have to accept me as I am. If you can't, that's okay.
Well, and listen, the three of us are all made it with very supportive people. And that also helps too. Yes. You know, to have somebody say, I'm here.
Yep.
You know, I support you. You know, you're a little
back.
You're a little crazy today, but I'm support you. I want to kill you today, but I support you. It's so funny. We were talking about social media. You know, the new thing now, somebody posted on Facebook, I lost weight during the pandemic. And I wrote in a comment, you know, it's like this dressing room banter, but I did it on Facebook. I'm like, remind me to kill you the next time I see you. Well, don't you know Facebook banned me for a month?
Oh, are you kidding me?
No, I couldn't. And they wrote me saying, this was violent and we can't have. And I was like, have you ever been in a dressing room with me where I'm like, I'm going to strangle you today, if you know, or whatever the banter that
Michael,
you have in a dressing room.
It's a robot, though. That's what I was told. I used the word fag hag, talking about myself, and I was banned for 36 hours. I had a warning. Then
mine was a month.
A month. Facebook jail for a month. But I've been told it is a robot. It's not even a human being. But don't even get me started. This is a whole other show.
Yeah, but yeah. There you go. So you have to really be careful. But I said that as a joke, and it was taken a certain way. So you know.
Well, wow, we have gone over an hour already, and it seems like hardly any time passed. So
Michael, I'm in a new age range.
Yeah. So Michael, what we do at the end of the show, and my dog's telling me that the hour's up too, apparently, but we give the floor to our guest. And any last words you'd like to impart? Tell us more also about how we can learn more about you.
Well, I mean, I have a website of which not just about theater stuff, but I've written a number of blogs about different stuff, and it's at www.michaeliannucciactor.com. And I mean, you know, that's really, you know, we're up in Milford sometimes, we're in New York sometimes, and this was such a pleasure. Thank you for giving me, you know, and for inviting me along here, and I really do. The people that have tuned in for the most part know that you guys really do a wonderful job with Triversity. So so please check Triversity out. If you're looking, well, you don't have to be gay to check Triversity out. You could just be somebody who wants to meet some new people. And but there you go. But thank you guys so much.
Oh my God.
And thank you, Michael. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, good
Have
night,
fun and
everyone.
keep having fun in P-Town.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.